Chapter 1. The Unexpected Guest. The rain lashed against the windows of Lord Harrington's stately manor, mirroring the storm brewing within. Inside, Lady Harrington paced nervously, her emerald green gown a stark contrast to the gloom. "Inspector Davies, I insist you apprehend this fiend," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. Inspector Davies, a man whose weathered face bore the marks of countless investigations, remained calm. "Lady Harrington," he soothed, "we are doing everything in our power to find the culprit. But these things take time." The victim, Lord Harrington, lay sprawled on the Persian rug, a single crimson stain blooming on his pristine white shirt. The murder weapon, a slender dagger, lay discarded beside him, glinting menacingly in the dim light. "But who would want to harm my husband?" Lady Harrington wailed, her eyes filled with genuine grief. "He was a kind, generous man, beloved by all." Davies surveyed the room. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the faint metallic tang of blood. A priceless Ming vase lay shattered on the floor, its contents scattered across the rug. "Lady Harrington," Davies began, his voice firm, "I need to know if you saw or heard anything unusual tonight." Lady Harrington shook her head, her long blonde hair cascading down her shoulders. "Nothing. I was in my boudoir, reading, when I heard a scream. I rushed down, only to find this." As Davies examined the scene, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a tall, imposing man wearing a brown suit, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. He approached Lady Harrington with a grave expression. "My deepest condolences, Lady Harrington," the man said, his voice a low rumble. "Lord Harrington was a true friend." Lady Harrington looked at the stranger with suspicion. "And who might you be?" she inquired. The man removed his hat, revealing a face etched with lines of worry. "My name is Mr. Croft," he replied, extending a hand. "I was a close business associate of Lord Harrington." Davies eyed Mr. Croft with a keen interest. "Mr. Croft, I believe it's best if you allow me to question Lady Harrington." Mr. Croft nodded reluctantly, his gaze lingering on the lifeless body of his friend. He turned and walked towards the door, his brown suit blending into the shadows as he disappeared. Chapter 2. A Web of Suspicion. The investigation proceeded slowly. The servants, all of whom had alibis, were questioned, but none could offer any significant leads. The local gossip mill, however, was in overdrive. Rumors swirled about a hidden gambling debt, a jealous mistress, and even a long-lost heir. Davies, however, remained unconvinced. The murder, he felt, was far more intricate than a simple act of revenge. The shattered vase, the presence of the mysterious Mr. Croft, and the peculiar calm that had descended upon Lady Harrington all pointed towards a carefully orchestrated plan. He delved deeper into Lord Harrington's life, interviewing his business associates, scrutinizing his financial records, and even visiting his private study. It was there, amidst stacks of dusty ledgers, that he stumbled upon a curious detail. A series of coded messages, written in an unfamiliar script, were hidden within the pages of a rare book. Davies, a man of few words, was intrigued. He took the book to a renowned cryptographer, a brilliant but eccentric old man named Professor Hemlock. The professor, after days of intense study, finally deciphered the code. The messages, it turned out, were a series of warnings, cryptic threats hinting at impending danger. The sender of the messages, however, remained a mystery. Chapter 3. The Shadow of the Past. Davies returned to Harrington Manor, his mind racing. The coded messages provided a new angle to the investigation, suggesting a hidden enemy, someone who had been plotting Lord Harrington's demise for some time. He revisited Mr. Croft, this time with a renewed sense of suspicion. He questioned him about the coded messages, but Mr. Croft feigned ignorance. "I had no idea Lord Harrington received such messages," he claimed, his voice strained. "He never confided in me about such matters." Davies, however, sensed a flicker of unease in Mr. Croft's eyes. He decided to investigate further, delving into Mr. Croft's past. He discovered that Mr. Croft, despite his claims of friendship, had a history of financial troubles and a reputation for shady dealings. Furthermore, he learned that Mr. Croft had been in possession of a rare antique dagger, one that bore a striking resemblance to the murder weapon. The evidence, though circumstantial, was mounting against him. Chapter 4. The Confrontation. Davies confronted Mr. Croft with his findings. Cornered, Mr. Croft confessed. He had been deeply in debt, facing financial ruin. Lord Harrington, despite their friendship, had refused to lend him the money he desperately needed. Driven by desperation, Mr. Croft had hatched a plan to steal a valuable jewel from Harrington Manor. However, the plan had gone awry. Lord Harrington had returned home unexpectedly, catching Mr. Croft red-handed. In a fit of rage, Mr. Croft had grabbed the dagger and struck. The shattered vase, he explained, was an accidental consequence of the struggle. Lady Harrington, upon hearing the confession, was visibly shaken. She had, unknowingly, harbored a murderer in her own home. Mr. Croft, his facade of innocence shattered, was arrested and brought to justice. The storm that had raged outside on the night of the murder seemed to have subsided, leaving behind a trail of sorrow and regret. Chapter 5. The Unanswered Questions. Despite the resolution of the case, Davies couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to the story. Coded messages, the sender of which remained unknown, continued to haunt him. He returned to Professor Hemlock, determined to unravel the mystery. After weeks of painstaking research, the professor made a startling discovery. The script used in the messages was an ancient one belonging to a long-forgotten civilization. The messages, it turned out, were not threats, but rather warnings. Warnings of an impending disaster, a catastrophe that threatened to engulf the world. Davies, faced with this new, terrifying revelation, realized that the murder of Lord Harrington might have been just the beginning. The shadow of the past, he understood, had cast a long and ominous shadow over the present. And as he gazed into the stormy sky, he knew that the true danger had only just begun.